There you go. Now you're live.
All right. Good morning, everyone. The
Good morning.
January 19th meeting of the Audit Committee is hereby called to order. Roll call. It looks like everybody's here, but Al has been excused. Let's keep his father-in-law in our prayers. Katie, it looks like the only one who is not present at the moment.
Yes, she is. She's present.
She is. Yeah. Let's, has anyone had the opportunity to review the agenda? Hopefully.
Yep, I have a question.
All right.
On old business, can we add status of the June 30 audit and CAFR?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, that sounds like a spoiler alert.
Oh,
No,
I'm reviewing the minutes from the meeting I partially missed, and I just wanted to get an update on
Oh, no, I didn't know if the CAFR was out or not. Sorry.
Are there any other additions to the agenda? Any other comments? Do I hear a motion?
it.
Second?
Thank you.
Okay. Been moved and seconded that the minutes be approved. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, they are unanimously approved. How about the minutes from January the 4th?
I not only move that we approve them, but I just want to make a comment that the minutes, I don't know if Kim is listening. Of course, Kim is listening. They are really good minutes.
They are.
They really are.
Very thorough. Very thorough.
Yes.
Very thorough.
Very.
agree.
Extremely.
Good job, Kim.
Okay, she needs a second.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the minutes be approved. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
The minutes have been unanimously approved. The next matter on our agenda is our educational topics and speakers. And I see that Dr. Nash has joined us. She's all smiley for the first day of the week. Dr. Nash, good morning.
Good morning. How is everyone?
So far, so good. Dr. Nash is our director of the Department of Planning and Zoning. It's a big department. And she's come here to tell us a little bit about the department itself and also to educate us a little bit about the money aspects of the department, not just the budget, but the, you know, how they handle money. They do handle cash when people come in, particularly when people come in for permits and usually small fees, relatively small fees. Dr. Nash, take it away.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So I'm Sally Nash. I've been with the city for 15 years, almost 15 years. And I've been director officially for less than one. I have a presentation that, let me see if I can figure this out. I will show just to go over a few aspects of our department and what we do.
Where's that coming from?
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's me. I live off of Taylor Avenue and very close to the police station.
I couldn't tell which frame it was coming from.
Yeah, well, actually, it's not the police. What it is, it's the fire department, and they zip down Taylor Avenue. So, yeah.
Hmm. Not sure that worked. Okay. I don't share very much on Zoom, so I'm having problems.
Ellie,
But
if you,
in any case,
you almost had it. When you get to the share screen part, choose the application instead of desktop, and then it should work.
okay.
Make sure your document is open before you go in. Or you can email the document to me and I can share it.
Sally, that never works for me when I try to share. I always just try to share the screen and then it works for me. So just put the document up on your screen and then share screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can never make it work when you have to share the doc, when you say share document.
Well, that's very sneaky of it.
Mhm.
You're good.
All right. So planning and zoning has 6 divisions. As Alderman Payon mentioned, inspections and permits is one of our busiest divisions. They deal with all building permits, grading permits, and trades permits. And that is where most of the activity at our permit counter is happening, and just a lot of really heavily dependent still on paper. We're trying to move away from that with our new software that we're getting. But right now we're still dependent a lot on people handing us things and us handing them things back. So that's been one of our COVID challenges. We also do all licenses for the city for rental, and that includes short-term rentals, so long-term and short-term rental licensing, which takes up a lot of time as well. And okay. Share.
Dr. Nash, do you know we can't see your PowerPoint?
I know.
Okay. Okay.
I'm still working on it.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Huh? You see it now?
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So our other divisions include Community Development Division, and I'll go through them all briefly. But the main function of this division is to pass federal funding through to local agencies for housing services. So that includes help with down payments, rehab, and also funding a lot of social services agencies in the city per the Department of Housing guidelines, which require a lot of paperwork themselves. Economic Development Division, they do everything from recruiting new businesses, being a liaison for existing businesses, helping people get permits or expand their business. They've also been very heavily involved in COVID preparations, helping Steve Rice has led the Small Business Task Force, and generally trying their best to support businesses through COVID in whatever way they can. And they've been doing a great job about that. Comprehensive planning works on our long range plan that we do about every 10 years. We have a new chief who started this summer. He's been doing a great job, especially integrating some bicycle planning, doing a lot more community outreach for our comprehensive plan, and really doing a great job to bring equity into our discussions of what we want the city to be like in the next 20 years. Historic Preservation Division is primarily tasked with reviewing exterior changes in the historic district, and current planning reviews all building permits and grading permits, as well as a planning review. So when a developer or a homeowner is just beginning to think of a project they want to do, they come in and talk to our current planning and find out what are the zoning laws, what are the critical area laws, what's the forest conservation, what am I going to have to do in order to build this property? And they handle all special exceptions, variances, site designs, and administrative adjustments. So this group actually does take in pretty significant fees, especially for our plan developments, although we only have maybe one a year, but it usually is a pretty big chunk of our revenue. Another source of revenue is, well, we take money for our historic preservation division approvals. They're called certificates of adequacy. Comprehensive planning, it's a little in flux now, but generally does traffic studies. Those, we take the money from the developer and then we pay for the study. So there's not a net revenue except for an administrative fee that we charge for that. And economic development doesn't really have financial transfers in that way. They do some sponsorships of certain organizations or conferences. This is our personnel detail. You see we have some divisions like licenses and permits with 13 people and 2 contractual people. We have some divisions like community development with just 1 very hard worker. So we recently also this summer got the urban forester position transferred from the Office of Economic Policy. And that person manages, well, this year about $25,000, hopefully more next year, because he's in charge of all urban trees. So that includes street trees in the public right of way, planting, maintaining them, but also cutting them down when they become dead or have disease. So that can be pretty expensive. Okay. We work with a lot of other agencies in the city. And I've kind of gone through that. So I want to kind of stick with this slide and then talk more about financial information. I've gone through our big ticket items. So are there any questions about other sources of money, or we do also have pass-through money for Downtown Annapolis Partnership in our budget. But other than that, you know, we have supplies, telephone, advertising. That's, you know, kind of the usual things. So are there any questions? Yes.
Hi, quick question. The staffing slide with the head count, those positions are labeled contractual. Is that by design, or is that due to temporary staffing, or?
In licenses and permits, we have 2 contractual that are really are part-time. There are plumbing. We have a part-time plumbing inspector on call and a part-time electrical inspector on call. And those are very specialized trades.
Okay.
So when our full-time people go on vacation, we need someone in those positions. So, or occasionally one of one of those 2 will get really backed up, usually our electrical inspector, and he'll just need some help getting through the backlog of things. For historic preservation, we have a person who is part-time. I would love to make him full-time. And also for the administrative staff, we have a part-time person on the front side of our office. We have a front side and the back side of the 3rd floor on Gorman. And she is kind of a receptionist, a sort of jack of all trades, and I would love to make her permanent as well. But when we had layoffs, you know, 10 years ago, whatever, what was then planning and zoning, which is about half of what it is now, we lost 25% of our department, and we really haven't, you know, really recovered from that. One of the positions we lost was a receptionist. So we've never gotten that back full time. So that's why we have that.
Thank you.
Sally, I have a question. Hi. On the traffic study, I know it's, I guess for lack of a better word, it's a pass-through cost. You know, we bill the developer, if you will, for that study. Do you feel I know that traffic studies take a lot of review, and do you feel that your cost, your department's cost, is addressed in the respective permit fee for the development? In other words, have you considered some kind of reimbursement for your review of the traffic study if it's not covered in the permit fee?
Mhm. Well, it's not part of the permit fee, but we do charge an administrative fee, a 5% fee along with the traffic study.
Awesome.
So,
Okay, great.
You know, that it might be worth thinking about changing that to 10% fee, because sometimes they do require an awful lot of work. And I've had a little bit of a break because of COVID, but I'm not sure how we're going to manage those because I did them when I was chief of comprehensive planning, but I don't know if that's the right spot for it. But now I'm still kind of stuck doing them, and I don't think that's the right spot either. So still trying to figure out that and how that can work more efficiently. So we've got a pretty good system that we did a request for qualifications a few years ago. So I just rotate through my qualified consultants. So that part's easier. I don't have to go out for bid every time, but it's still, 6 to 8 week process just to do the study. And then it can be months or years more follow-up after that point. So,
How do we change an administrative fee? I don't know how to do that. Is that something you just change, or? Anyways,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jody knows or David knows.
Is that one of the fees that's in our fee schedule that we pass every year during budget?
Oh, it is. It is in our fee schedule. Okay.
I mean, I have to look. I'd have to look to make sure it's in there, unless it's separately listed in the code as a fee. Otherwise, anyway, it would require a.
I think it's listed separately in the code and actually by reference in the guidelines. So I think maybe we should add it to the fee schedule, and then we could increase it that way. So.
Okay, so you can send us something on that to update the fees, to edit the fee schedule for this coming budget process.
Right.
And then it should be based on what you think the cost is related to what it's doing, what it's trying to pay for.
Okay.
Yeah, especially that we're not.
We can't make a profit off a fee, so it has to be based on as close as
Right.
it can to the actual cost.
Exactly. Yeah. Well then, let's make it 30. I'm kidding.
Sometimes.
No.
Sally, I have a question about consultants. I know you're using them now for the comp plan. Are you utilizing consultants anywhere else in your department?
Let's see. We did use, I think it was actually fiscal year 20 maybe money, but our community development division has to do reports for HUD one every 5 years. They had a consultant for that, but that's not ongoing. You're right, good point. Our comprehensive planning is probably the division that uses consultants the most. Current planning, no. Economic development, occasionally they ask for reports or some kind of studies. They did before COVID. They asked for a report on the maritime industry, innovations in the maritime industry, which has proven to be very helpful and timely for the comprehensive plan.
Sure.
And they also asked for a report on international business recruitment. Historic Preservation Division has consultants to help review certain projects. She has about $20,000 a year for consulting money. So that goes both for some assistance with architectural review, but most of it goes for our on-call archaeologist that we have, who's very important, obviously, whenever anyone is digging anything in the city.
Right.
And license and permits don't, although we have an on-call grass cutter, because for property maintenance, we get a lot of calls, especially in the summer, about overgrown lawns. If we have to go out and mow the lawn, we will, and then place a lien on the property.
Gotcha. Okay. And this shows my lack of knowledge about the comprehensive plan. there's work done, although the plan's going to be released this year, then what happens with the plan activities next year, say?
Well, we would have less of a need for consultants, but we still are looking for some work to be done to implement the comprehensive plan. So one thing the comprehensive plan is going to recommend is certain zoning changes, and that's going to require new ordinances as well as probably new studies to look at the context of the areas we want to rezone and really hone in on the details, which
Sure.
comp plan
Okay.
itself won't have that kind of detail.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right, are there any other questions right now? Okay, Dr.
I have a
Nash.
question.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Chairman, yeah.
Alderwoman
Thank you,
Pender-
Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Alderwoman Tierney, are we talking about possibly sponsoring some legislation as far as the fees are concerned?
I'm not sure. I think that's the way we're going to go, as Sally puts in a request. But if it is, it depends where the fee is right now. If it's in the code, in the fee schedule, then it would require legislation.
I think that's where it is.
I think we can wait until you approve the budget for fiscal year 22, and I have a few other changes going in for fiscal year 22 to our fee schedule. So I can put it in with those changes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Nash. Mhm.
Thank you,
That'll
Rhonda.
work.
That'll work.
Sure.
Well, Sally, who handles the money when it comes in, the cash?
We have our admin staff has all been trained on money. So we have our permit, the person who sits at the permit counter. She's the main point of contact for any cash. She takes checks and processes credit cards. We also have our Elisa Stanley, who does our rental licensing. She also people will mail checks in for license renewals, things like that. And she actually used to work in the finance department. So she also has training to handle cash. Maria Brown handles most of our invoices, not so much our cash, but she processes our invoices and bills.
Are all the folks who handle cash bonded?
Yes.
Okay. Does somebody physically take it over to the finance department at the end of the day or at the end of the week, or how does that work?
Yes. Well, under normal times, we take it to the finance department at the end of the day. Actually, the Dunbar people will come and get the cash if there is any. There hasn't been any lately, but under normal circumstances.
Okay.
I can
Alderman Payon,
Yes,
I
Alderwoman.
don't want to get too much into the details regarding how cash is handled from one
Right.
building to another. I don't think, we need to get off that. Thank you.
I wanted to say that we have these, and Sally, you correct me if I'm wrong, you have one of the Dunbar, I don't know what you call them, boxes, and the receipts are fed into the box. They're not carried to finance. They're fed into this box at the end of the day after the drawers are balanced. And you feed in bills, checks, I think, are not put into the machine, but all cash is, and checks are grouped and deposited directly to the bank. Now the checks could be put in there too. I'm not certain because I don't handle that in my office. We've got one, planning and zoning has one. There's other departments that have them. And Dunbar comes up and they're the only ones that can open and take the contents of the box. And so that's helpful in segregating the controls and who's carrying those receipts around. But,
Okay.
but her system, the current system, is antiquated and very manual. And this new system is really going to help us automate this cash receipt process.
Right. We're switching to a new software system, and you'll be able to pay. Everything will be online, including all the payments. So we are very excited about that.
All right. Are there any other questions for Dr. Nash? Dr. Nash, you have any questions of us?
No?
Okay, good. Well, we thank you for being here this morning
Sure.
and talking a little bit about planning and zoning. And
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nash.
but your sentence is up and you're free to go.
Okay.
Oh, Sally, before you go, how am I doing in our contest between Ward 1 and Eastport, if you know what I mean?
Tight, Ellie. Tight.
Up there.
Don't worry.
Bye.
Ward 8 is still winning.
Okay.
All right. The next item on the agenda is old business. Specifically the annual report. I was hoping to have a copy of it here. I've received, I think we've all gotten a copy of it. I simply can't put my hands on it right now.
I just emailed you a new copy.
Oh, good. Thank you. It's relatively short and sweet. And if we have not filed it already, we will do that. Although did we file this, Kim? Hello, Kim.
Her audio doesn't seem to be working. I believe you're supposed to approve it at today's meeting, and then she'll officially file it after that.
Okay.
I know
All right.
Rhonda's still getting over that we didn't get perfect attendance.
Yeah.
I messed up.
Well, has everybody had the opportunity to review the annual report?
Yes.
All right, just a second. Nope, not there. Not there. Okay, here we go. Are there any questions about it? I've been over it and it seemed to be very well done. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the report be accepted.
Second,
All right, moved by Alderwoman Pendell Charles and seconded by Ms. George. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none. I think it's time to vote on this. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? It seems that it is unanimous. We approve the annual report, and I would ask that Ms. Moronsky file this with the clerk as soon as possible. The Audit Committee legislation. It was approved on January 11th. There were some amendments that Alderwoman Tierney filed. They were relatively minor amendments. They were suggested by our former city manager, at least in part. Ellie, can you talk about those for a second?
Sure. Yeah, you're correct. Our previous city manager had reviewed them because she was involved in the initial discussions, and there was the gist of it was to align the legislation to the code, which said that we report directly to the city council in lieu of to the finance committee and then to the city council. I'm trying to recollect if there was any objection to that. I think there was some discussion.
And wasn't the final vote that the committee would report to the council plus the finance committee? I seem to remember that. And the reason I remember it was I had some heartburn about it.
Yeah,
They added that at the last minute. They inserted both the finance committee and the council as the ones that get the report.
yeah, Alderman Arnett, as chair of the finance committee, had a problem with that. I just, I think it was all verbal, though. I don't have any revised amendment, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think it passed.
There was just discussion.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
I
then-
think, I don't
then
know, I'm
good.
looking. I don't want to play it over. That was a tough meeting.
Right.
Look, I'm on the finance committee. I mean, we're going to be working with them, whether we like it or not,
Right.
in some respects, and we are going to be turning over a number of our findings. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense that we do this all by ourselves.
Well, let me talk a little bit about my heartburn from an audit perspective. The audit committee is supposed to be independent. That's the whole point of having an audit
Yeah.
committee. And if we have dual reporting, I mean, I agree with you absolutely, Alderman Payon, that they will be intimately involved in everything that we're doing. But the actual reporting out of findings and recommendations needs to be very explicit that it goes directly to the council.
That's right.
And
Great.
it just, I mean, it just has to be that way if we're going to actually maintain our independence as an audit committee.
I totally agree, and that was not part of anything that we passed. I'm quite sure.
Okay.
It
Okay,
was,
then I'm good.
there was the one part that we do have to change that you brought to my attention, that there are ethical issues involved with, what was it? Was it also the reporting out? I can't remember.
That was a whole week and a half ago. I can't remember that.
I'll
far
go
back.
I'll go over
know,
it with you. We'll get it
Okay,
straight.
we'll figure it out.
And then we did shorten the turnaround, I believe.
Yes,
After we receive a report from outside auditors from, is it 60 days now or
yes,
90 days?
60.
Yeah.
I think it was 90 and it went to 60. Yes.
Correct.
Okay. So we give them 60 days to comment on and tell us what actions they've taken, if any. If not, why not? And if so, what it is they've done.
Correct.
Go ahead, Ellie. What?
Well, I think that was the gist of, I mean, the main gist, as Katie is accentuating, is that per code directly to city council. And then there were the Savage amendments, which brought up a lot of discussion, and that was making it a similar to the, oh gosh, to making it this committee similar to the Annapolis Environmental Commission or the Housing Commission, where it's made up of civilians and city council is just a liaison, if you will. And Alderman Payon said that, and Alderwoman Pendle Charles and myself said, no, not now. Not now. We if perhaps we'll give it some time to review that, but it is, especially with the performance evaluations. I know I commented that I think it was important for city council to remain and be informative about how the departments work, and that, again, we are still new and we need the council to sort of steer the ship, if you will. I don't know if anybody else wants to add to that. I think one point I didn't make, and I should have, to my colleague Alderman Gay, is that this is really different than the two housing committees in that he was referring to. We did do this with a housing committee, that we took the alderpersons off because they were handling money and decisions on nonprofits, and we don't, quote unquote, handle money or have any position where I believe we can be biased, but I'll let my colleagues elaborate a little bit more.
I think you hit the nail on the head. We have a different situation from the housing committee. And there was quite a bit of discussion about that. And I was afraid what they wanted to do to solve that problem was to kick all the aldermen off the audit committee, which our private citizens on the committee may jump for joy if that happened, but I don't think it's appropriate at this point for that to happen, simply because, well, you've seen right here, one of the reasons to keep us on the committee, because we are still dealing with legislation granting the committee authority. At some point, we may be taking some away that we don't want to have. It's a good liaison with the council, and this legislation should have been passed probably 6 months ago. And it was a little slow in developing, and it's going through the council process. Took a little bit more time than we would like for it to have taken, but not as long as it would have taken to be honest, if we weren't there. It also guarantees, in all likelihood, in most circumstances, from a political standpoint, it's going to guarantee any legislation recommendations that come out of the committee 3 votes most of the time, and we only need 2 more. So, I mean, we can propose all the legislation we want, but if we don't have 5 votes for it, it's not going to do anybody any good. And we can look after the political aspects of this. Alderwoman Pendel Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to make a comment because every meeting we kind of talk about what we should have done. This should have been done sooner. I don't know why this wasn't done sooner. And I want to take umbrage with that. I don't agree with that at all. This is a new committee, never had one before. We're making our way through. We've had several different residents on the committee. Guess what? We're going into our 3rd year. I think we've done extremely well. We're not, as far as alderpersons, this isn't our area of expertise. I mean, Alderman Payon and our attorneys, Alderwoman Tierney is a engineer, and so construction. And so it really rubs me the wrong way that we keep talking about what we should have done. This should have been done earlier. I don't know why we didn't. I think we're doing extremely well. And so I'm really honestly getting kind of tired of hearing it. I'll be honest and frank. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Okay, the word has been passed down from on high.
There you have it. You got that in the minutes.
Your point's very well taken.
Yeah, put it in the minutes.
Minutes.
Put it in the minutes.
Your point's well taken. We don't need to beat ourselves up. You know, we're doing the best we can, and I agree with that. But at any rate, our legislation is done. It is enacted. It's a big win for us. Now, you know, it's time for us to get to work. Speaking of that, the next item on the agenda is performance metrics subcommittee. Mr. Jarrell.
Thank you. Yeah, so I want to thank Katie and Al and Lynn Farrow for doing some work ahead of our meeting. We had a meeting on January 8th to discuss the RFP for the performance measures consultant. And Katie and Al and Lynn all put together draft scopes of services that we reviewed during the meeting, and you know, discussed each one and decided that we were going to try and meld the 3 into one document, which we did last week. By the end of last week, we had a new document that we got review comments on. Thank you, Katie, again for that. And I think right now what's happening is that Brian Snyder, our procurement officer, is taking that scope of services and putting it into the framework of an RFP so that we can issue that this week. As Rhonda said, things are getting done, and we're not lagging on this. So we moved pretty quickly on that to get that document put together, and we're going to get it issued so that we can get a consultant on board. The focus of the effort is going to be kind of threefold. One is for the consultant to review our current performance measures that were submitted last February to the council for approval. So that's going to be the beginning point for review of all of those. Then they will meet with each of the departments to go over their comments on the current performance measures, as well as provide training to the departments on sort of performance measures in general, and what they should be looking for and how they should do the data collection, and how they should make them meaningful, both for the departments to use for management purposes, but also for the council and others to gauge the performance of the department. So that's two things: review of the performance measures, training for the departments, and then also training for the audit committee. So towards the end of the project, they'll come before the audit committee to provide information on their assessment of the performance measures and the training that they provided, and then also provide training to the audit committee on things general to performance measures.
All right.
So that's the thrust of the work, and that's what the scope of services reflects, and the RFP is going to as well.
Has everyone, or has anyone had the opportunity to read Al's comments about the RFP? Rather lengthy comments. He was.
Yeah,
I
we
would
did.
have been able to be here because I would like to have had him lead the discussion.
Yeah, so what we did is so I melded the three together as one scope of services, the three inputs that we reviewed at the meeting, sent that out. Al provided comments. So Katie, you jump in if I say something wrong here, but Katie took Al's comments and then her own input to update that document again. So that's where we're at right now, is the update that Katie did of the original document using her own thoughts, but Al's
But
input
incorporating
as well.
Al's as well.
Yeah.
And I think mostly I affirmed what Al had provided. Maybe one or two differences, probably on timing, and maybe David, it would be helpful for our committee for you to run through the timeframes, because that gives a sense of the progression of things, since we're talking about actually getting things done.
Yes. Okay. So let me pull up the document here. So the time frame now is that we're going to issue the RFP. Proposals will be due on February 5th. Then we gave ourselves 1 week to review the proposals and to make the selection. So that'll be February 12th. It takes about a month to award a contract. So to go through all the steps to get the contract awarded by March 12th. And then we would anticipate that they would start work by the 22nd and complete. I think the date, Katie, was May 30th?
May 28th is the last Friday. Yeah.
To complete all contract services.
Right.
Well,
And
as I understood it, the focus of this is on the training, not on really reviewing things that we've already done. Is that my understanding correct?
Well, since we already have a set of performance measures, we think that the training will be more effective if it directly addresses the performance measures that are in place, and they help to improve those performance measures that we already have, instead of starting from scratch. So it'll make it more effective for the departments, but I think it'll make the process go much more quickly too, since we have those performance measures that we can use as a starting point.
All right. Alderwoman Tierney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In reading Al's comments, it's sort of like the remember the great Karnak and the Johnny Carson show. You read the answers without the question. Anyways, he talks. did we address the big kind of picture of his concern is to translate these tasks into outcome? Because outcomes are measurable. Do you feel like that's been addressed? That's kind of the gist I got out of his comments, and it's a very valid comment because outcomes are measurable versus the tasks. I guess that's to Katie or David.
Katie, do you want?
Yeah, I'll
I'm
take
happy-
that.
Yeah.
I've inserted objectives which get to the outcomes. So we have a new section ahead of the tasks that just talks about objectives, and we've linked them to the tasks. So you should be able, if you're the proposer, you should be able to say, oh, okay, this is what they want to accomplish. This is how they want to accomplish it. So does that respond to
Yeah.
your question? Okay,
Yes, thank you.
sure.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add is I think any performance consultant worth their salt is going to push us towards outcome-based performance measures.
Absolutely.
Because that's sort of
That's
the
it.
state of the art, and so it almost goes unsaid. You don't need to explicitly say it in the RFP because I think they're all going to push us that way. But I think it's good the way it's crafted now to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Alderwoman Pendel Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Gerald, just kind of a logistics question. I kind of know how supervisors can be a little bit nervous. Is there anything built in where the consultant will be sitting down individually with each department head to kind of bring up situations that should be avoided or things they're doing they shouldn't do, rather than kind of calling them out amongst their own peers, for lack of a better way of phrasing that?
Yeah, I think that's a great point because we kind of kicked around some different options for those, having a number of departments meet at the same time. And I really preferred that we have the individual meetings with each department sort of for that reason. So they won't sit down with them. They'll sit down with them virtually, but they will sit down with each department and office to go over their performance measures that they have now and to provide training because each department office is a little bit different, right? So I think that those will all be individualized for those departments.
Okay,
Julia,
thank you.
Julia, does St. Mary's have anything like this? How many employees do they have that function out of the office, or about how many?
Well, we have over 250 employees, including teachers, but this would probably be most relevant for our support staff. And we're also currently working towards performance measures and things like that. It's more job performance based because we're smaller, so it's an individual kind of thing, but we're currently not doing anything on this scale.
Okay. I don't know how you would measure the performance of a priest, hey, I saved 5 souls this week. I mean, I don't know.
Don't worry. So, there are those out there.
You can expect
That's pretty good.
strike any minute coming down.
5 a
right
week is
here.
good. 5 a week is good. That's pretty good track record.
Okay. All right. Are there any other comments or is there any further discussion? Let me get back to my agenda here. Just a minute. Okay, here we go. Okay, I wish Al were here. I would like to discuss this a little bit further and go back to performance metrics in general, but be that as it may, we are where we are. Now, reports, that is next on the agenda. City Finance Director, what's going on?
I do believe we added to the agenda on new business, the timing of the CAFR. Is that
Yes.
in the new business section? I can address that as well.
Okay.
now that it's my turn to report, I will say that, as you know, in the past years, the report for the June 30 fiscal year has been done in the spring. The first year I was here, we got it out in February, and last year we got it out in January. And but this year, with the time of mine that's been absorbed this fall with COVID reporting and the effect it's had on our budget and us having to revamp the budget numbers regularly, that has pushed this work back. And the auditors are also auditing virtually, and that slowed that process down too. So we've got an extension to February 28th, and I'm trying to get my piece done. I have a little bit more to do to hand off to them, and hopefully their audit procedures are done. They're going to take over gathering the information that we've provided into a Word document to publish it. So I'm still hoping to have that done February 28th, and I'll be talking to them about the progress on that. But so we hope to have it out at the end of February. That's not good. That's 8 months after year end, but and until we can have more time, get this COVID stuff out of the way. It's good. We're going to have staff in and out of the office right now. I've got half the people in the office, and it's not easy to pull something like that together and do that work when everybody's not in the same location. So
Okay.
we're hoping February 28th. It is drafted, and in my projections that I've given to you, I have used my final general fund numbers, which I don't anticipate will change. So I'm using those numbers. It's just not an audited document yet.
All right, I'll get you just a moment, Alderwoman Pendell Charles. Let me follow up. Now, I know that getting an assistant finance director, getting another body in there in finance has been a top priority. How are we doing on that?
So I ran the advertisement. I kept it open for quite a while. I've interviewed some candidates. I had two that I did second interviews on. I'm just not, I have a couple more candidates I need to talk to that have applied in the meantime, but nothing absolutely perfect. As I don't know if you remember me saying that I'm hesitant to hire somebody who's not exactly what we need. And the candidates that I ended up doing second interviews on are not government. They don't have government experience. I didn't get any top candidates that had experience, accounting or auditing experience in government. So it's a difficult thing. Not a lot of people are looking for work right now. And those top level government accounting finance candidates are just not out there. These two that I interviewed are very good candidates, but they would have to have some learning in the government field before they were able to run with that position.
Jody,
So,
what, I'm sorry, what salary range are you anticipating for this
Factor.
position?
well, I don't have my salary scale in front of me, but both of the candidates have told me they're looking to make at least $130,000, and that's near the top. That's the top end of our scale, which
Right.
is in the steps that we call what do you call them? The longevity steps of our scale.
Right.
So it's tied to these union agreements where if I put them on one of those upper steps, they have to be here 12 years before they can get an increase. So it's just, it's going to be hard to sell that to somebody and offer that kind of salary when they don't have exactly what we're looking for as far as experience. So it's not a completely good match. I
may have someone for you.
Okay, well, the ad is still posted, and I welcome all applicants still. It's still out there. Like I said, I do have a couple more that I'm going to talk to. Like I said, I don't want to cut these two good candidates loose. They're good, but they don't have the government experience. So that's what I'm dealing with right now. I'm trying to decide, and it's taking a while.
What's the bottom end of that salary schedule?
You know, I'm not going to be able to answer that. I don't know if any of the staff have that. David, you keep one of those at your fingertips, the salary scale? I have it on my desk at work, but I don't have it here.
Well, that might be another thing that we don't really need to discuss publicly.
It's,
point.
no, it's public information. It's public information. So, it starts in it's either right at 100 or just below 100, I think, and it goes up to maybe like 150, 140, maybe up
All right.
close. But
Are there any
so
other?
130 is near the top of the scale. I think it was like step 7, step 8, and it's difficult bringing people in at this stage, at that level. And
What's the
Go ahead.
grade?
it's 18.
So the lower end, step 1 is 85,000,
Okay, and what's the upper end?
143.
143.
Alderman Payon, you must be reading my mind. That's the same question that I was gonna ask about that. Exactly. That's dangerous, but that we thinking alike this morning, but that's good.
Well,
Okay,
my issue is with the longevity steps for employees that are non-rep being tied to a pay scale that's got 5% steps and there's longevity steps at the top of the scale. It is a mismatch, and we shouldn't be tying non-represented employees to longevity steps because it's geared for a union that asks for those steps as a part of their agreement, and it makes it not decreases our flexibility when we're hiring.
okay. Anybody else? All right. No other discussion?
So that was on that. I sent you this morning the audit report information from the Rec and Parks audit. We had committed to provide you with a presentation that pulled all these things together, that linked the matrix that was created to the audit report, to the 11 implementation steps that I had done. And we put it all on one matrix and had some dates in there. And I will say that that's hot off the press and has not gone through the complete review of the city manager for a final review. So there may be some edits on that. But we sent to you a letter from the city manager this morning, the matrix and the final audit report again in an email.
All right, I would suggest we discuss that at the next meeting. I don't think we're ready to do that.
I was assuming it was on the agenda, but it wasn't even on the agenda this morning, but we had committed to get it to you.
Okay, well, we thank you for that. Jim, did you have your hand up?
I just wanted to say, just to concur with what you said, that if we can get it in advance of the next meeting, so we can critically review it in advance of the meeting, that would help. So is this the draft we want to review, or is there going to be another one?
Yeah, I'd prefer to give you another one, and we'll get that to you quickly because we have, we're to this point where it's a final draft, but it's not a final document, so.
Okay, all right, so we'll get that in advance of the March meeting, the February meeting, excuse me.
Yes.
Okay, Alderwoman Pendell Charles.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Dickinson, have you checked with possibly anybody down on Riva Road?
As far as what? Coming.
No
As far as
comment.
a position?
No comment.
I'm gonna leave that alone. Somebody put that bug in my ear, but I won't say who.
Put a bug in your ear about somebody coming on board with us, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
possibly. Yeah, but
Right.
you know what I'm talking about.
Well, I'm telling you that it's listed out there, so
Okay,
they're welcome. It's
all
still
right.
listed as an open position.
All right,
Okay, nobody that I know, no one in my household, but someone just mentioned to me just now. And I'll leave that out alone.
All right.
all right. Is there any
Thank you.
further discussion on this? Any further reporting, Madam Finance Director?
No, that's pretty much
Okay.
some of what I've been working on.
All right, there is one item before we close that I wanted to bring up, and that is the lighthouse reporting. That is the hotline. Mr. City Manager, do you have any idea when the last time we got a complaint or a call on the hotline was? How long ago that was?
I think it was last summer. And that's the only one in the year almost year that I've been city manager is the one that we got last summer. So it was just one over a year's time.
Well,
And we reiterated just a couple months ago to all the employees that the hotline is available and how they can, take advantage of that or make use of it if they choose to, but nothing, which maybe it's a good sign.
well, yeah, I think it is, but I don't know what we got a bill if we wish to re-up with them. And I think it was, do you remember how much it was? Seems like it was 700 and something. Does that sound familiar to anybody? David or?
I think it's more than that. I think I'll have to go back and check. And I had asked you if we were going to renew, but that was a couple months ago. So I don't recall the amount.
Well, it was substantial. I guess I have to ask whether we think that, the efficacy of this thing is worth the money we're paying. Any comment? Ms. George?
In the spirit of best audit practices, we need to keep a hotline. I think David's right. It's probably good news that you don't get any calls. But if you take the hotline away, then if something were to happen, God forbid, or somebody felt aggrieved, God forbid, there's no formal mechanism for them to report that. And yes, it's a lot of money when budgets are tight, but I just think if we're trying to be, best in class as an audit committee, we've got to keep that. Every audit organization that I'm aware of has a hotline reporting mechanism.
Well, I think the optics would look pretty bad also.
Correct.
I don't like the optics at all of taking it away, but I thought I'd put it out there for discussion.
Sure.
If it's not 700, I remember looking at it, frankly,
I
being
think it's more than
surprised
that.
how much
It's
it
more
is.
than that.
How much?
I
Jody?
said, I think it's more than that. I was going to try to look it up, but I can't. I have to move this screen off to look at the Muta system from here.
I probably have it in my email, but it'll take me forever to find right on the spot. Yes, Ms. Dickinson.
I just wanted to follow up with Ms. George in your experience, what about the fact that we're marketing this thing just to employees? So is it good practice to start putting it on the street to
Yes,
citizens?
yes, absolutely. I felt that way initially when I was looking at the hotline, who sponsors it, how are reports delivered, et cetera. And yes, in a best practice sense, we would open it up to the community. Now, we all know what Annapolis is, and we all know everybody seems to have an opinion who lives here. So there could be a lot of, I know that's shocking, isn't it? But truly, it should be open to the community because, they could know stuff that goes on that's not obvious to staff members, and it could be troublesome. Now, I would also say, having seen a lot of environments in my life, my visceral sense is that this organization, the city of Annapolis, is very clean. But that's just this moment in time based on my observation and my experience. But that doesn't mean that will be the case tomorrow or the week after. So yes, we need to keep a hotline, and yes, in my opinion, it should be expanded beyond the scope of the staff.
Well, I have to say, probably half the reports that we've gotten have come from citizens, non-employees.
Oh, really?
So people seem to know it exists, or at least they've been referred.
Yeah, so it is available to everyone. It's just when we market it, we've been particularly marketing it to employees. Because a lot of the stuff that comes in from citizenry, based on our experience with the county, did not result in any findings of issues.
Looks like it's $782.60.
Oh, it is, okay.
Okay.
Well, you were right. It's more than 700. But
No, I was thinking it was closer to 1,000, but we may have gotten a discount on it or something. But that's
okay.
not 1,000.
All right, Alderwoman Pendel Charles.
Yeah, quick question. Does that 700 and some change, is that coming out of our 25,000 or not?
No. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Go
Okay.
ahead. Madam Finance Director.
Okay.
No, that's separate. We haven't done anything with the 25 that we have in the budget right now, and that 782 is coming out of my budget and it's separate.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Is there,
Alderman Payon?
yes, Alderwoman Tierney.
Hi. How are we going to market that, for lack of a better word? How do we get that out to the public?
Well, I think
Probably
maybe the
should do
city
that.
manager might be
Yeah.
better one to
I
answer
mean,
that.
the obvious way is through our website, but of course that doesn't reach everybody. So we'll have to find other ways as well. And, maybe we could do it in one of those OEM calls where we just, one of the flash messages that we try to get information out. I don't know, people get fatigued from if they get too many of those, but definitely on our website, we list what the phone number is and how they get in touch.
Well, I think we need to be careful too that this doesn't cause every Tom, Dick, or Harry or Mary to come along and decide they don't like the way, or they saw a public works employee leaning on his shovel for 30 seconds and they call the city and say, well, they're not working, they're not doing this or that. I mean, that's to be avoided, but I guess you can't really totally avoid that. I mean, with all the complainers we have, every one of us in our wards, I think.
Well, I will say in the cities where they open it up more directly to the public, in the initial opening up, there tends to be a kind of a flurry of just the things that you mentioned, but then people kind of get over themselves and then they don't. So I think, yes, initially we could have some of that, but I think it'll taper off, frankly. Because, I mean, honestly, the city of Annapolis and its employees do a really good job. And I've been in city environments where that was not the case.
Okay. Alderwoman Pendel Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. George, I appreciate your comments. I don't know if they are true to form here in Annapolis.
Well,
not based on some of the emails we get.
if nothing else, one of your phrases you use, I'd love to be able to tell a constituent to get over themselves, but it usually doesn't work that way from our perspective.
Correct. It's easy for me to say I'm a mere citizen. I'm not an elected official.
Okay. Are there any other questions, discussion, any other topics, anything for the good of the order? Well, unless somebody has something else, I believe that we've come to the end of our agenda here. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Any discussion? You can stay here as long as you want to discuss that. All in favor signify of ending the
Aye.
meeting? Yeah.
Aye.
What he said.
Yeah, whatever.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody, any opposed? You could sit here all morning.